Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has warned that his country is facing its gravest security threat since the Second World War, after Russian drones violated Poland's airspace in what officials described as a deliberate provocation. The incident, which drew an immediate response from NATO allies, marked the most significant breach of alliance territory since Moscow's full-scale invasion of Ukraine began more than 3 years ago. Donald Trump posted his reaction to the Russian incursion into Polish airspace last night, saying on Truth Social, "What's with Russia violating Poland's airspace with drones? Here we go." In the early hours of Wednesday, Poland scrambled its own forces alongside NATO air defences to intercept drones crossing its eastern border. At least 3 drones were shot down and 4 airports, including Warsaw's 2 main hubs, were temporarily closed. Tusk reported that Poland had documented 19 separate airspace incursions, some entering from Belarus. "We are dealing with a large-scale provocation," he said, after converging an emergency cabinet session. "We are ready to repel such actions. The situation is serious, and we must prepare for every scenario." Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof confirmed that Dutch F-35s participated in the operation, while other NATO members, including Italy and Germany, provided support. Poland's Foreign and Deputy Prime Minister insisted that the drones were intentionally directed at Poland, dismissing Russian denials as lies and Soviet-style deflections. Although one drone struck a building in eastern Poland, no injuries were reported. The Deputy PM publicly thanked allies for their rapid assistance, emphasizing that even though NATO is not at war, Russian aggression now reaches beyond Ukraine. The breach immediately raised alarms across Europe and at the United Nations. A UN spokesperson warned of a real risk that the war could spill further across the region. European leaders echoed the concern, framing the incident as a critical moment for NATO unity. The White House announced that Trump would speak with Poland's newly elected nationalist president, Karol Nawrocki, while U.S. Ambassador to NATO Matthew Whitaker reaffirmed Washington's commitment to defend alliance territory. "We will stand by our allies and defend every inch of NATO soil," he wrote. In London, Defence Secretary John Healey said Britain was reviewing options to reinforce air defence in Poland. He spoke after a 5-nation meeting that included France, Germany, Italy and Poland, underscoring that Putin's aggression only strengthens NATO's unity and determination to support Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukraine reported its own massive overnight bombardment, 415 drones and 40 missiles, primarily targeting western regions, killing 1 civilian. President Volodymyr Zelensky seized on the breach of Polish airspace to urge NATO to act decisively. "Moscow is always testing limits. If not met with a strong reaction, it escalates further," he warned. Today was not 1 stray drone, but at least 8 deliberate attacks on Poland. Moscow rejected accusations of targeting Poland. Its defense ministry said it had no intention of striking Polish territory and offered to consult Warsaw. Russia's envoy in Poland called the claims groundless and demanded evidence that drones were of Russian origin. Polish officials were unconvinced, arguing that with 19 separate airspace breaches, it simply defies imagination to suggest technical malfunction. Tusk reiterated Poland's resolve but urged calm, stressing there was no reason to panic. Poland formally invoked NATO's Article 4, which triggers consultations when a member feels threatened. This provision has been used only sparingly since the alliance was founded in 1949, most recently in 2022 following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. European leaders pledged solidarity with Poland, and Warsaw reported receiving offers of concrete air defense support. The drone incursion also coincides with joint Russian-Belarusian military exercises, raising further security concerns. In response, Poland temporarily closed all border crossings with Belarus. The incident is particularly significant because it marked the first known instance of NATO defences directly engaging Russian drones. Poland has been on alert since 2022 when a stray Ukrainian missile struck a Polish village, killing 2 civilians. Today's breach, however, was larger, more coordinated, and appeared deliberate. The incursion highlights how Russia's campaign against Ukraine increasingly spills across frontiers. Moscow relies heavily on Iranian-designed SHREDS drones for its nightly bombardments, using them both to exhaust Ukrainian air defenses and to strike civilian infrastructure. Poland's leaders view the latest breach as proof that Russia is willing to expand the conflict's scope if unchecked.
Dzisiaj w nocy doszło do naruszenia przestrzeni powietrznej.
Poland's airspace was violated last night by a large number of Russian drones. Those that could be a significant threat were shot down. In all likelihood, we're facing a large-scale provocation. But anyway, we've had consultations with our NATO partners, and I'm in touch with the NATO Secretary General. We're determined to react as adequately as last night if similar incidents repeat in the upcoming hours and days. This is the first time Russian drones were shot down on the territory of a NATO member state. That's why all our NATO partners consider the situation as serious. There have been no reports on possible victims. The search for the element of the fallen drones is ongoing.
For NATO, the stakes are immense. If the alliance concludes that Poland was deliberately targeted, pressure will mount for a firmer response, potentially reshaping the trajectory of the war. For Ukraine, the incident underscores its long-standing plea for Western allies to intercept Russian weapons before they cross into Europe. Finally, Tusk said Poland is navigating its most dangerous moment in generations. The question now is whether NATO will treat the violation as a warning shot or the start of a new phase in Russia's war. Donald Trump promised to swiftly end the war in Ukraine and positioned himself as a global peacemaker, but his failure to restrain Vladimir Putin has instead emboldened Moscow and heightened the risk of a wider European conflict. By offering conciliatory rhetoric and hosting summits that produce little substance, Trump gave Putin breathing space without extracting concessions. The Kremlin has responded not with restraint, but with escalating attacks, from intensifying its assault on Ukrainian cities to now breaching NATO territory with drones. This pattern underscores a dangerous reality. Far from deterring Russia, Trump's inability to hold Putin accountable has eroded confidence in Western resolve and increased the likelihood that the conflict will spread beyond Ukraine's borders. I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5-Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with MeidasTouch.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.